You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who have been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com, and then definitely follow them on Instagram for all the information that you need, because I'm sure that's where you follow us as well, at Oklahoma HOF. Let's get into today's episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode down at Bedford's Camera again. They've set up the back room and they just take really good care of me, and I can't thank them enough. So down here, if you're watching the YouTube, Facebook, or any other video platform that we post on, that's where we're at. Use them for, camera stuff that you need, or prints or whatever. But my guest today, Jonathan Batista, official on Instagram, great follow. Mate, it's good to meet you in person.
Hey, great to meet you too. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We are both now in Leadership Oklahoma City, which is really cool. I know we've had one meeting, which was over Zoom, and hopefully we get to meet in person. But for everybody listening that doesn't know who you are, give us a little bit of, elevator pitch of who's Jonathan Batista today.
Yes, sure. Well, I'm a principal dancer with the Oklahoma City Ballet. I started dancing in my native country of Brazil. Mm-hmm. And from Brazil, I traveled to Argentina, and from there I got a scholarship first to join Miami City Ballet School. And from there I got another scholarship to join the English National Ballet School, the Royal Ballet School, both in London, the UK. Yeah. And then I had an injury. Okay. And that led me to come back to America and recover. And from that, I left to Canada. Yeah. So I joined the National Ballet of Canada, and then I was invited to join Boston Ballet, Cincinnati Ballet, Milwaukee Ballet, and finally here in Oklahoma City, where it seems like I'm settling down. Good. With the Oklahoma City Ballet.
Yeah. So you've seen the world then.
A little bit. Yes.
You've been around. That's really cool. So grew up in Brazil. What was early life like? Getting into, growing up and getting into sports, getting into, doing ballet? Like, what was that like?
It was busy. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a humble part of the city, in the favelas. I don't know if you've ever watched City of God on Netflix. No. So it's about that community, but I did have many opportunities to, see different parts of, I think I've had both of the best world and the world on the other side of the sheet, and so I was able to just really grow, and my mom really kept me busy with, soccer, of course, I'm
of course, Brazilian, in Brazil, yes. And, Ronaldo. Right. I grew up knowing the original, amazing Brazilian team, right, which was Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho. I was born in 1990, yes. Yeah, Roberto Carlos with that crazy free kick that he took in the World Cup. I mean, they were the best in the world.
They were. And so, I was a soccer player, then I did judo, jiu-jitsu, capoeira, taekwondo, and then I was also swimming. I did music, DJing, graffiti, and so my parents were just trying to keep me busy. We were at a part of the city where it offered, it was dangerous. Sure. So it could have offered a lot of,
if they didn't keep you busy, you could be off running and doing other stuff, and stuff. I mean, you might have got killed, or you could be in jail.
Yeah, so really it could bad. Definitely. So and my parents were working the whole time, and they also, I had to study a lot. My parents were always like, no, you got to read this book, you got to do this, you got to do that. And so I was a busy kid, and until one day, dance took over. Mm-hmm. And I started with ballroom dance at a local school, and then I did jazz, and then tap, and then they introduced me to ballet. And I have to tell you, I used to hate it. I don't know how it became a profession for me, but I used to really not enjoy just ballet, with the tights and etc. And I also, there's a lot of prejudice because in Brazil, you're a soccer player or you are a musician. And then you go into ballet, and I was the only guy in the ballet school. So I went through a lot of things, that led to my growth, of course. And then I joined a professional ballet school, and from there on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you made the transition to ballet?
Oh, I think I was 11.
Okay, so still quite young and still early on then.
Right, yes,
But you've done
still
you've done like, you got into dancing obviously at a very young age.
Yes.
With ballroom and jazz and tap, and then getting into, to the ballet stuff. Back home, I had two friends of mine who they studied at RAD in London, Royal Academy of Dance in London. They're now teaching ballet back home. So that's the only reason I know what the Royal Academy of Dance is.
Yeah.
Other than Billy Elliot, the movie.
Oh, yes, that movie is fantastic.
Thank you. I'm glad you've watched that, because I made that reference to somebody else the other day who had done ballet, and they were like, I've never seen it. And like, you've never seen Billy. Okay, now you need to go watch it right now. Especially for those listening, you need to go watch Billy Elliot. Amazing movie. Tom Holland in his early days, set in Newcastle. It's just a great movie, isn't it? Even if you're not a ballet fan, it's a great movie.
It is.
So you get into ballet at 11. You get picked up, right? And then you start going. You're still in school.
Yes, I'm still in school.
Yeah.
So school would go from 8 a.m. to 12, and then from 1 to 9 p.m. was ballet school.
Wow,
and so
that's
you
intense.
would be dancing for 8 hours nonstop.
Yeah.
And it's so. I did not like it. I started liking it because, they used to take us on a trip, and so you would travel to different cities, different states, and then started traveling outside the country as well. And so, and I would see my friends, getting the awards, so that's how you get excited. Oh, you got a medal. Oh, you did this.
Yeah.
And then you're on this big stage in Brazil, you hear people clapping, and it builds up, all the excitement and things, and you start seeing things. But I think what really defined my career was that I was able to dream. I started dreaming about having a career. So that's when I started watching, Mikhail Baryshnikov or Rudolf Nureyev, and then Carlos Acosta, which was the first black male dancer to be a principal dancer with the Royal Ballet. And I had the opportunity to meet him. It was a dream come true.
Yeah.
And I set, and it's funny because I really set a goal that I would one day be in England.
Okay.
Yeah, and study in England. And that happened. I was just coming back from Miami. My parents made the ultimate sacrifice to pay for that trip to Miami City Ballet in Florida. And from there on, I came back from Miami, and I wasn't really impressed.
Okay.
I was impressed with Miami City Ballet, but I wasn't impressed with Miami because I thought, oh, this is Rio de Janeiro. But more more on the modern side.
Sure.
And I didn't get to see much either because I was underage. So it was just like, the university.
You see a hotel and wherever you're staying, and that's it, right?
Right, and that's it. And so I went back to Brazil. And English National Ballet went to Brazil, and they opened an audition.
Okay.
And, my teacher didn't want me to go, but I did. And, did the audition, and it took 6 hours for them to make a decision. We were dancing for all those 6 hours. And
like making it through the rounds.
Right.
Like, okay, you can go, and then you just get whittled down to the people that they want to take or offer a position back in the UK.
Yeah, correct.
Wow.
And then they said...
That's intense.
Yeah, that was intense.
Yeah.
And then they said, hey, we would like to offer you a scholarship under the Nureyev Foundation, and you would be 3 years with the school.
Yeah.
And you would also attend college, and so on and so on. And that was it, and
That's so cool.
And funny enough, we didn't have the funds, we didn't have the money, and I told my parents, I said, look, let's pack. And we packed everything up. And I said, by faith, I'm going to be in England. And I started performing, and, I cried to people. Right. I was just like, I was a young kid, and I was fearless with it. I was just like, hey, no, I need help, I need support. And talking to people. And one day, I remember in Brazil, you can reserve the ticket before you fully pay for it.
Okay.
So I reserved on a Thursday, let's say. On a Sunday, they called. I didn't want to pick up the phone because I would have to cancel it. I didn't have the money for down payment.
Right.
And they called me to say, hey, so send me your email because you're traveling on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And someone paid for it.
Wow. That's amazing.
And
do you know who it was?
Yes.
Okay.
I found out 2 years after that one opportunity after I got to London. And, you know, I got off the phone and I said, Mom, we're done. See? Great. And I went to school and I said bye to everyone. And on a Wednesday, I was on the plane.
So how old were you when you flew to the UK?
I believe I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
So quite a young age to travel halfway around the world on your own, leaving mom and dad behind and family and security behind of everything you know growing up.
Right.
And then you fly to London and land at Heathrow or whatever, and you're like, wow, I'm in another country.
Yeah.
You know, everything's a lot different, I guess, but you do know the ballet is comfortable for you.
Yes, definitely.
So what was that experience like landing in the UK?
Oh wow, it was amazing. I mean, as soon as I saw it, you know, and you think, you know, UK, London, you're associated with, you know, the kingdom, and then you're associated with the Queen, and then you want to see the Buckingham Palace, and the first thing that they introduced it to new students is, of course, the building where we'll be studying, and then the Buckingham Palace, and it was amazing. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm in the Harry Potter movie. Yeah. But the experience itself, it was a little bit hard in the beginning to get used to it. You know, the English people, they are very gentle, you know, and highly polite, and I was very loud as a Brazilian young man.
You come in 16 years old, full of confidence. So much confidence.
Oh my goodness.
And you're coming in, you're like, I know I'm walking on water right now. I'm really good at this. And they're telling you that you need to improve, but in a really nice way, like the Queen would probably tell you, or your gran would say something very nice to you.
They were very nice about it. And I mean, they were great. I was very blessed to have the opportunity, you know, also to then join the Royal Ballet School for a moment, and then go back to the English National Ballet School, and then they took me to Prix de Lausanne in Switzerland to compete. And they have the video blog on YouTube if you put my name down, which is cool. And, you know, so I've had the best of experiences, but the change, you know, was difficult in the beginning. And I would say it took me 6 months to, I'd say, become an Englishman.
To feel comfortable within your surroundings.
Definitely. Yeah. And, of course, accepting of my culture. You know, I'm still a Brazilian man, but you adopt the place as well. And also because you're, you know, I was young. So
a lot easier to be influenced when you're young too.
Right, definitely. Yeah. So, you know, I loved it as well. You know, I love the culture and everything. And when I came to America, you know, they were like, "What are you saying?" You know, it took me a while because that's the English I know.
Right.
And then, well, it has changed a lot, of course, but
back then,
that's what I knew. And but I have a lot of influence from the English people.
So, what years were you in the UK for?
Oh, that was short. It was only 3 years.
Just 3 years of what? Like, what was it?
2008 through 2011.
Okay. Yeah, so you would have come back to the States about the time that I came to the States, because I came here in August 2011. So what were the things that you, I guess, picked up from being in the UK as, you know, from a 16 to a 19-year-old? What were the things that, like, I mean, just, there must be some little quirks that you pick up or things that you miss.
Oh, okay. So, well, if you're watching on YouTube, you already see I'm
the
always
jacket. You're very well dressed
with the, you know, with the blazer on, and what? How do you say it? You know, I love to just. To care for people, you know, a certain way. You know, welcoming people in my house. I mean, that's what we used to do over there. And brunch, you know, and walking pajamas everywhere.
Drinking cups of tea all day.
Yes.
Scones or scones, as people say,
And what I miss about London is the diversity.
Right.
You know, it was so diverse. It was so, to a point, well, I was really, really young, so I didn't know much of its politics and etc.
Right.
Like, you know, an inclusive system and etc. But for me, it felt inclusive.
Gotcha.
Because I was there, I was having opportunities, I had had really amazing opportunities to dance elsewhere. I was with English National Ballet School. Then I wanted to go to the Royal Ballet School. They welcomed me with open arms and on full scholarship as well. And then I went back to EMB, and they were still very welcoming. So I've had a very fruitful journey.
Yeah.
And I can't complain.
That's to be like I get a free ride basically to go to the UK and learn from some of the best in the UK, if not the world, and then and grow as a person as well. From like 16 to 19 is a significant part of somebody's life, isn't it? There's a lot of things going on. You're a little older, but you're aware of things, right?
Yeah.
That must have been so cool. What I'm curious to know, like, what was your favorite meals, and the UK is known for having the best Indian takeout as well. Did you eat Indian curry food and stuff like that?
I did. I don't think it was my favorite at that time. I do it now more than ever.
Okay.
But I used to love my Fridays fish and chips.
Oh, yeah. I have still yet to find a good fish and chips here.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Oh, it was
don't know why.
Amazing. It was just, every Friday I would just go and get it and, be happy with it.
Yeah.
And, I also miss the bars. A lot.
More of the pub culture.
The pub culture.
Yeah, because you don't get, because people listening will be like, oh, I miss the bars, and they probably think that you're out every night. Well, no, it's if you've never been to the UK or traveled to Europe, the pub culture is its own thing. It's more of a day than you don't go there at 9 o'clock at night and get trashed, or you can, but it's more of I'm gonna go there in an afternoon, have a meal, have a few drinks, and watch the football or watch whatever's on. And that must have been cool to you as well, the football, being in London and being around here. You got Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, all those, West Ham, all those kind of big Premiership teams.
Well, I was right there on Fulham Broadway. And I think there was a restaurant, a Brazilian restaurant right there too. So all the soccer players, the Brazilians, used to go to that restaurant. So from time to time, I met one or another. I think I met Davi.
Okay.
When he was playing with Chelsea, and I met Daniel Radcliffe because his house was actually, I think our changing room in school was facing his backyard.
Okay.
So from time to time we would see him at Tesco's.
That's brilliant. It's Harry Potter.
Buying a sandwich.
Yeah, that's so good.
Which was amazing.
So yeah, you're in the UK. You're learning all this stuff. You're eating fish and chips every Friday. You meet Daniel Radcliffe. You are living the dream at that point, right?
Yeah, living the dream. I mean, every single step was something new. Yeah. And you know what I used to do? I used to get the bus. Yeah. And just sit down.
Just ride around.
London. So I got to know so many places. Yeah. And it was fantastic. It was a dream come true, and it was hard to leave. It really was,
So did you get injured there, or did you get injured after that?
I got injured there.
Okay, so that is why you had to leave.
I still spent a year and a half after my injury. I was still trying to recover, but I lost contracts because I was injured. So then Miami City Ballet invited me to recover with them.
That's really nice of them.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. Edward Villella was the director back then, and once I recovered, I went to the National Ballet of Canada. Yeah, which was an invitation from 2 years prior to graduating. And my school didn't allow me to go because they wanted me to graduate.
Right, of course, because they wanted you to stay, and they've invested in you, and I'm sure they wanted you to stay in the UK for a lot longer.
Oh yeah.
I mean, all of getting invited to places and getting a scholarship, that doesn't come without obviously noticing that you are clearly very good at what you do. You don't get a scholarship and get through all the rounds by just being okay. So what you said, your parents or your mums always had you doing stuff and always working towards something. That tenacity and that clear want to grow. Once you got into ballet at 11, everything just went to, now I want to do ballet, I assume.
Right. Well, I would say that
continued.
It's a profession. Ballet sometimes chooses the person until you become an artist and everything. Because I really did not like it. I had no intention of becoming a ballet dancer.
What did you want to do growing up instead?
I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a missionary. I wanted to be different things, like a policeman.
So you never thought that you were going to become a ballet dancer, or it's still to this they think back then that you would be doing it for as a profession, traveling the world?
Not at all. Not at all. And it was something, they picked me and they continued. And I think it was more about the challenges that I was presented with.
Okay.
And the discouragement too. And I wanted to prove that no, I can do this.
Yeah.
I will be able to do this. I mean, I saw my family, going from very little to then succeeding and becoming, all that they could become.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, so I had an example at home, 2 examples, my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
And so I just followed that same energy. And even these days, look, I also didn't like books when I was younger, and now I read a book per week.
Right.
And so all the things that I did not like when I was younger, now I just do it. It's just a habit.
Yeah. How did you get injured? What happened?
Oh, I broke my sesamoid, I think it's called, in half. So that same day, I rehearsed a production, and then that same evening, I flew to Germany to perform in the morning. So I performed for 3 hours the next day, and then I flew back to the UK, and I mean, my foot was
screaming with pain.
Yeah. And then that took me 2 years to recover.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not a doctor, but my limited knowledge and some pub quizzes, I know that there's a lot of bones in your feet.
Oh yes, a lot, and little ones too.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, when you're young, you think you're invincible, and you want to hug the world with just like one hand, not even an arm, just your hand. You want to put it there, squeeze it, and not even let go. Yeah. So every opportunity that I saw, I wanted it. It didn't matter if I was healthy and whatever it was. Yeah. And I learned my lesson, of course, and that's how you grow. That's
when growing up and thinking that just I don't like or don't love ballet. When did you really what time in your career were you like, okay, like this is clearly my profession, I absolutely love doing this now?
Wow.
Have you got there yet?
I don't remember.
I still don't like it.
I think there's a part of it that it's really a challenge. It's something that grows within you. There wasn't a moment that I was just like, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
Yay, I love it. It was just the feeling, the passion, I guess, that drove me towards, staying.
Did you really miss it, those 2 years out of recovering? Were you like itching to get back out there?
No, not at all.
Really?
I was not disciplined.
Yeah.
Yes, it took me 2 years because I wasn't disciplined about it.
Okay.
I went to Brazil, and you want to see your friends.
Oh, of course.
You don't want to put your foot up, and do the things that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, I just really prolonged the recovery process. But it was just something that grew within me. It developed, and I think there was always a purpose.
Okay.
Not really a decision that I made for myself. I will do this. I think if I say I'll do this, I'm already in the process of, this is what I do.
Right.
I do this because I love it.
Got you.
And it's just a part of who I am. Because if you don't give it your all, it doesn't really, what's your objective? What's your goal? What are you doing? And that's my mindset, most of the times to whatever I do.
Yeah. So you're in Miami, you recover, and then Canada says, hey, let's come hang out up here. So you go from the UK, if you're from Brazil, you go to the UK, which is totally different. Then you come from the UK to Miami, which is, again, totally different. And then you go Miami to Canada.
It was totally different.
Totally different.
It was a cultural shock.
Yeah.
Getting to Miami and then getting to Canada was completely different, and it was hard. Canada was the most challenging place that I've been to. I think it was just the culture, and their own at the time. And again, I'm young, so I'm still discovering
young
everything.
20s at this point.
Right, yes.
Full of confidence still.
Right, yes. And I became loud again because I went to Miami, so with all the Latins. It was great. So I went to Canada. Again, it's settled. It's a different culture.
Sure.
And I'd say I had great opportunities, performed a lot, but there were lots of things as well that I still, that these days that inspired me to become an advocate for change in the ballet world.
Okay.
What I say a lot, we need to bring ballet to the 21st century, and we need to develop, diversity, inclusion, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I saw with the ballet in Canada and the country itself, at least the areas where I was at. And then I came back to the United States to join the Boston Ballet.
Okay. How to that point, the diversity and being, a leader and pushing for change and being in a position where you are at the position you're at because you're very good at what you're at, regardless of your skin color, who you are, whatever it is.
Right.
But you have a voice at that point, right? And you're confident, you know that you have a voice. So then as you grow, you realize what you can do with that voice.
Right. Yes.
And you're around other leaders and other friends, and then, that becomes a bigger purpose too, right?
It does, and it's really about timing, because you do learn as well how to use your voice. You become comfortable within yourself, because the world nowadays is constantly changing,
right.
and you still, I think the greatest accomplishment, I've seen that quote before, is to still be yourself in a world that's trying to constantly change you.
Yeah.
So I did lose myself in the process for a little bit. It's like, what do I want to do, who I want to become, and what do I want to change, or influence change. And it took me a while. It wasn't until, I would say, 6 months ago, where I started speaking. I think we've seen the devastation of the past events, and I would say that George Floyd was a huge inspiration. Unfortunately, it took his life for me to, gather all the courage, and not just me, ballet dancers across, the United States. They started speaking up, dancers of colors, Latinx dancers, Native Americans, and women, and, they started speaking in regards to change. And most of it in ballet companies is about it's about educating the organization. It's about it really, because sometimes there are two ways here. You think about either ignorance or just lack of awareness. And I think with all the events that we are seeing now, we're all finally paying attention to what is really going on, because the thing is that, if it doesn't bother me, I won't be able to see it, and even if I'm presented with it, there will be conflicts, yes, but I think there's a way for us to educate each other, on things that, we're trying to influence change.
Right. I mean, I love, it has to be done, right? Someone's got to do it, and it has to be done. And, it takes someone like yourself and others who are very good at what they do and are respected, and like you said, you find your voice, and that it's like sadly something has to happen to kind of force your hand a little bit and think, okay, if I don't speak up now, there is no other time. Like, I need to do this because this is getting out of hand.
Right,
this is getting ridiculous.
There's a lot of fear with that too, because you're young, you speak up, and then it's like, oh my goodness, is it just me, or and who is there to support me or to protect me? Because I'm still growing, I'm still young, and one of the things that I talked a lot, even with my artistic director, was, if I'm a great risk taker. So if anything, please just educate me on something. Because I'm still growing. I'm a young man. I'm open to things. I'm open if you say, hey, man, that's wrong. Or, let's do things in a better way.
But tell me.
Because most of the times what happens is that it causes this huge separation, and then there's a gap with no, place for knowledge, wisdom, and then we fill them with emotions and uncertainties and just negativity, and then we start wondering, and building up stories and etc. So I'm really trying to build a bridge and just say, hey, let's have a conversation. And it was really interesting, because I started having live sessions on my Instagram, and a lot of people joined in. People from the Oklahoma City Ballet, and Erica Portel which is an outreach teacher, and she does great stuff in the community. And she works with Black kids and African American kids as well, Latinx in the communities. And she had an interview with me, and a conversation, and she really went in, and she was vulnerable, she was open, and it also allowed me to understand better, what the company was doing. But I also had to, talk and let them know what my experience has been, and what changes we could do in order to improve not only relationships between communities, but the art organization also influencing our society, our community in Oklahoma City. And they just opened, 6 months ago, they opened this subcommittee of diversity, inclusion, and equity at the Oklahoma City Ballet. So we're doing work. We're talking, we're doing work via email. We gather, we sit down, we have conversations, and that's what it takes.
Right, and you made a great point. Like it's either ignorance or you just kind of don't know, right? You just kind of, you're unaware, aren't you?
Right.
And sadly, there's a lot of people who are unaware. And it takes, coming together and getting people together, going live on Instagram and having conversations to get people in, to make them, and having vulnerable conversations, to talk and realize, oh, okay, this is not just an issue in the media, like this is happening in Oklahoma City and across the world. And someone like yourself who's traveled a lot, I'm sure you've seen it in all of the cities and states and parts of countries, and it's saddening. And when you look back, you could probably think, oh, okay, yeah, it did happen. This one, you don't recall it at the time because you're probably young and you think your head's not in that space. But things have, you could look back, and I'm sure things have happened that now you look back on, you're like, oh, okay, so that's why. And now it makes sense. So you come to Boston, freezing cold.
Freezing cold. I don't think it compared to Toronto, though. Toronto was really, really interesting, and Milwaukee as well. Oh, Milwaukee was the hardest. It was just really cold. And I actually told myself I need to leave.
I need to get out of here. I need to go further south where the sun is.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in Oklahoma City, and what were you, I guess, why did you accept the position to come to Oklahoma City?
So it was between Oklahoma City and Atlanta.
Okay.
And I know Atlanta very well, and I was just thinking, oh, great entertainment. You have TV,
great.
Music seems great. I love being in the studio with musicians, and you have many opportunities, available over there. And I thought, but I truly need something that I know nothing about. And that's when I started researching Oklahoma City. And one of the things that I love is growth. And I read that, the city has had a great amount of growth for the past 5 to 10 years. And the city was developing, et cetera, and wanted to be a part of that growth. And the Oklahoma City Ballet was just moving from their old building to this beautiful facility that they have at the North Glasson Boulevard in Nichols Hills. And I was just like, you know what? I think I want to be a part of that growth, And it took me 2 months. We had interactions via email. We talked about it. At first was a no, because he didn't have a contract. Robert Mills, our artistic director, didn't have a contract. And then things changed in the company, and he emailed me. I was actually about to go to Tulsa to audition. And he emailed me, and I canceled all everything. And I said, let's do it.
So what year was that?
That was 2017.
Okay. So roughly 3.5, 4 years you've been here.
Yes.
And seen a bit of change. And I mean, what did you initially think when you came to Oklahoma City?
Grass, land.
I can see for miles.
Yes, I said, I was like, okay, I don't see the buildings. And
where is downtown?
I started worrying a little bit. And then, I started exploring. I was just like, you know what, this is great. Great to see what Paseo looks like now.
Oh, yeah.
Comparing to 2017. Paseo de Plaza now with the new Class in 16 building, which is amazing as well. So, it's just amazing. So you see growth everywhere, and people want to do stuff,
Sure.
And I love entrepreneurship. I lived in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati had, I was a part of We Are Mortar, Cincinnati entrepreneurs, and I saw that the city, you saw like pockets, small places being remodeled, for a new business to go in there and etc. So I was very inspired and moved by that. So I was just like, you know what? Let me go to Oklahoma City. I hope to meet new people and start from there.
That's really cool to come in here and do that. Like I tell people a lot, and people probably on the podcast are sick of me saying this, but you've got to, and I love what you said, you're a risk taker, because you've got to take risks because you don't know what's on the other side of it.
Right.
And the good thing is, you can always go home. Right? Home's always going to be there.
Definitely.
I can always go home. I always have like a base that if everything hits, if everything goes to crap and I can't go, dreams crushed, whatever, I can always go home.
Right.
And I just, by every conversation I have with people, I'm just pushing them like, go try something new.
Go try it. Go do it, and it's great because, one of the things that sometimes people don't realize is that failure is fantastic.
Yeah.
Of course you're really aiming to succeed, but if you do fail, hey, that's just another opportunity for you to learn something and, make plan B your plan A again and just get there,
Especially in dancing. You need to practice a lot. You have to fail a lot to get to nail those poses and perfect those moves that I know nothing about ballet other than watching Billy Elliot, Black Swan or whatever. But like you don't just get out of bed and perform. Like there are years of hard work, destroyed feet, and hours and hours. Like you said, when you're 11 years old, you were doing from 1 till 9 at the age of 11.
1 to 9.
And then you travel around the world, and I'm sure it was that plus everything else too.
Definitely.
Flying around stuff.
It takes a lot, it takes repetition. It takes, creating this habit of, waking up and then working towards the skills. I still wake up at 4:30 a.m. to go to the gym. I have my first meal, which is like, 4 eggs with some vegetables and etc. Then I go to the gym. Then I come back. Then I have to have fruits, and then I go to ballet. And then it's 9:30 to 5, and then I go back. And sometimes I do teach at night, and sometimes I go to YouTube. Because I'm trying to of course to get it started.
Yeah. So that is your typical day then. I put eat, gym. That's it. Even now, like how old are you now? Young, late
29.
20s? Okay, so almost 30. Like as you're aging older as well, have you noticed like you've got to take more care of your body because of all the stress you've put on it, and eat better, I guess? When you're young, you can eat whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
But now you've really got to nail that routine down.
Yes, I had to create better habits, wake up, meditation, and then, journal and do all of these, healthy habits in order to have a better performance. And that is great because I don't get tired usually, and I don't get injured as much because, I have to maintain and if not improve my daily routine. And,
Try 1% every day, right? 1% better every day?
Yes, every day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
That's awesome. That's intense. So you're in Oklahoma City. You've been here 3.5, 4 years. You're principal dancer. I'm sure you learn to love this city now. You meet a lot of people. We're in the leadership thing together, so that's a new thing. Like you're really becoming part of the city. You're not just the dancer who's in town, who's not from here. You are, outside of ballet, you're getting involved as well, which is really, really cool to see. You teased the YouTube thing there. Tell me about that. Plans, what's that like? What's that going like? And
so my first channel will be in Portuguese, and it's called Sim Possível, which is called Sim in Portuguese is yes, and Possível is possible. Okay. So you just put it in one. It's yes, possible, and it's really about how to create and maximize your productivity in order to achieve your goals and conquer your dreams. So it's about the habits, and it's about, I'm really talking about my daily routine, whatever I read and learn, and just encouraging people to be and do.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes we do want to do stuff. We do want to get there, you know, and we just don't know how. And just like a business, you know, you have to create systems, you know, and then just get used to that system daily. And then you start building yourself and you do see results. You know, the difference between a successful person and one that is stagnated is it's just the first step.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just...
It's just starting, isn't it?
Just starting.
Is there... I love YouTube. I watch more YouTube channels than I do normal TV because it's just easier. It's the future. I'm like totally sold on YouTube. What is YouTube like in Portuguese?
Oh, it's growing now. Good. And I think people are realizing there are lots of possibilities, and etc. But in Portuguese, I don't know. I'm getting there now.
Yeah, well, I guess it would be great. I mean, it's early stages.
Yes,
you have probably a better chance of growing a following in Portuguese than you do English right now, because everyone in their dog has got an English YouTube channel.
Yes,
right? Or English speaking YouTube channel.
Right, definitely. Yeah. You have to be way more creative with with an English channel. You know, either having creative thumbnails or just the content itself, you know, what you're talking about and pictures and whatever niche you find yourself in. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great journey. Oh, I'm excited.
So with the YouTube stuff, then who are the big YouTubers in ballet? Is there a big kind of, you know, big draw of people that are YouTubers in ballet?
I don't think so.
No?
I think the one person that comes to mind is Ingrid Silva. She's a principal dancer with the Harlem Dance Theater, and she started with YouTube really young, and now she created a following, and which I think really just transitioned to her Instagram.
Sure.
And she uses that way more, I think.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know who's the biggest one right now in Brazil. Well, yes, I do. It's Whindersson Nunes.
Okay.
He's a comedian.
Yeah.
And he rose to fame, and I think he's like the number one in Brazil.
But in ballet, and specifically in ballet, there isn't that many.
Oh, in ballet, no.
Which is good for you. I mean, that's great. Opportunities there, and you know, YouTube isn't what it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago even, whereas people were making, I mean, you can make a lot of money from YouTube, but obviously the ad dollars come down because more people are on it. But that's exciting. That's like a new kind of just a side project for now, I guess, preparing yourself for older life whenever you decide to retire.
Oh yes, I'm already deciding.
You decided?
I'm not deciding on what age, but I'm preparing for it. You never know when your body says, hey, this is time, this is it. Also, what if the vision for the company changes and they say, hey, thank you very much, but we are going in a different direction, which happens a lot. This is the dancer's life. So I would say I don't want to leave Oklahoma City. Because I love it here. So I want to go into, YouTube and start talking to people, about my journey, about, how to create new habits and etc. and so on.
Because it's I think growing up, if you go tell a young boy, you're going to go into ballet, like you said earlier, all the prejudices come in and all that stuff, and you're like, whatever, that's not for me. But then you see how much you work out, the athleticism of the dancers, and I'm like, I would kill for a body like that right now. I mean, I wouldn't kill to get up at 4:30 in the morning and work out, but it's not. I have a friend who's out here with me. He's from Wales. His mum teaches ballet back home. She has a school back home, so he's a soccer player, but he grew up, or football player, but he grew up, playing football, but his mum always had him stretching and doing thing whatever, and just to build strength. But most kids don't have that, right? You don't get the idea that, well, you're very strong, it's athletic work to get in the positions that you get in, to pose the way you do and dance the way you do. And
what's interesting is that singers, they do take ballet class. Beyonce, Michael Jackson used to do it, Usher as well. They all take ballet class because it's really good for your daily routine and in your movements and etc. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of athletic work. You go to the gym and you have to jump and you have to turn and you have to balance, work on your calves, work on your arms, your back, because of the posture and how you prepare, you do things, and then also how you partner with the girls, because putting the girl above your head, it's really not about just being a muscular guy.
Right,
it's
you have
really
to do it with grace too, right?
With
some style.
with grace as well. But it's just the way that you do it.
Okay.
And how you prepare your body to engage your muscles, and then lift do an overhead lift.
Like
so
Dirty Dancing, right? Like that famous scene from Dirty Dancing. Too many people have had a drink at the bar.
It's amazing.
He's like, "Come on, let me do this." And she goes flying into a wall or whatever. Seen that too many times. Never done that though. Never tried it because I know I couldn't do it. I would hate to drop somebody. That'd be terrible.
It's a hard one. It's a hard lift.
Yeah.
Because she comes in and then you have to place her hips. You have to go down and then place her hips above your head, and then go all the way up.
Yeah. You're going to get a lot of DMs, people asking you to teach them how to do this, right?
I'm ready. Here we go.
Well, mate, this has been a pleasure. Final few questions to let you go. Oklahoma City, you've been here a few years now. Favorite restaurant in Oklahoma City?
I would say Stella.
Yeah?
I love it there.
Okay. What about breakfast spot?
Breakfast. Hatch?
Yeah. Hatch is good.
Oh, actually, let me take it back. I love Hatch, but the Guatemalan restaurant on
Cafe
Classic.
Cacao.
No, Cafe Antigua.
Cafe Antigua. Yes.
My favorite restaurant.
Really?
Is Cafe Antigua.
Okay.
Breakfast is amazing.
Okay.
Brunch is fantastic.
Yeah.
I was just there last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Sunday. Yeah.
You're reminding me I have to go there because I usually go to Cacao, and I'm usually I with the work that I do, I don't have to go on a weekend, so I'm just never busy. I'm usually there in the week, and I get lucky and I go in at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, and it's empty.
I haven't been to Cacao actually.
Oh, it's so good. Coffee's great. If you love coffee Cacao is awesome. Okay. Well, for everyone listening, how can they follow you? How can they get involved? How can they,
all of my handles are Jonathan Batista official, and I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I think that's it. Yeah. I'm on Twitter, but I don't use it.
Same.
So
never used Twitter. I use it to see what the world is doing, and that's about it.
Yes. Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure. It's an honor. Thank you very much. I appreciate the platform.
When is the next show? Like, when are you guys back?
So we are back February 12th through the 14th with Firebird.
Okay.
Yes.
And you were dancing, principal dancer for that as well?
Yes, I'll be Prince Ivan.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
excited.
Mate, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. For everyone listening, I'll post the links down below to Jonathan's handles, and you can go follow, get involved, and then whenever the English version of your YouTube channel comes, I'm sure everyone's excited to see that. But mate, thanks for coming on, and we'll catch you next episode.
Thank you. And just to keep it in mind, the English version of my YouTube channel will be Keeping It 100 with JB. Yeah.
Okay. And that's not out yet, but they'll be coming.
It'll be coming.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers. This podcast was presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who've been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.